Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Radha Madhava Ki, Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Priyura Jagacharya Stotra Sata Shri Śrīmad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki, Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki, Shri Vrindavan Dhama Ki, Mayapur Dhama Ki, Jagannath Puri Dhama Ki, Ganga Mai Ki, Jamuna Mai Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Srimati Tulasi Maharani Ki, Samaveda Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki, Janitai Gaur Pramanandi. All glories to the Sama devotees. All glories to the Sama devotees. All glories to the Sama devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Brian Prabhu? On the list it says number 36 for me. Okay, because the bookmark's on 34. But they did number 35 yesterday? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the sacrifice performed by Daksha, chapter 7, text 36. What is the word for word? I will finish before you finish, Maharaji. We'll do word for word and then I'll chant it through. So everyone will have the benefit of chanting the shloka, but I don't think you'll be able to do the whole thing. Yajamanya Uvacha Swagatam Te Prashidhesha Tubhyam Namaha Srinivasa Shriya Kantaya Trahi Naha Tvam Rite Disha Nangair Mukha Shobhate Shirsha Hina Ka bandho yatha purushaha. I'll chant it through. Yajamanya vacha swag. You want to try? No, it's reflex, I know. Swagatam te prasidesha tubhyam namaha Śrīnivāsa Śriya Kanta Yatrahinaha Tvamrite Dishanangair Mukha Shobhate Shirsha Hinaka Bhando Yata Purusha. Yajamani, now it's word for word. The wife of Daksha. Uvacha, prayed. Swagatam, well, he splits it. Suagatam, auspicious appearance. Te, your. Prasidha, become pleased. Isha, my dear Lord. Tubhyam, unto you. Namaha, respectful obeisances. Srinivasa, the abode of the goddess of fortune. Shriya, with Lakshmi. Kantaya, your wife. Trahi, protect. Naha, us. Tvam, you. Rite, without. Adisha, O Supreme Controller. Na, not. Angai, with bodily limbs. Mukha, the sacrificial arena. Shobhate, is beautiful. Shirsha, Shirshahinaha, without the head. Kabhandaha, possessed of only a body. Yatha, as. Purushaha, a person. Translation. The wife of Daksha prayed as follows. My dear Lord, it is very fortunate that you have appeared in this sacrificial arena. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, and I request you that you be pleased on this occasion. The sacrificial arena is not beautiful without you, just as a body is not beautiful without the head. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Another name of the Lord is Yajñeshwara. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that all activities should be performed as Vishnu Yajna, for the pleasure of Lord Vishnu. Unless we please him, whatever we do is the cause of our bondage in this material world. This is confirmed herein by the wife of Daksha. Without your presence, the grandeur of this sacrificial arena and ceremony is useless. Just as a body without the head, however decorated it may be, is useless. The comparison is equally applicable to the social body. Material civilization is very proud of being advanced, but it is actually the useless trunk of a body without a head. Without Krishna consciousness, without an understanding of Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, any advancement in a civilization, no matter how sophisticated, is of no value. There is a statement in the Hari Bhakti Sudadhoya 3:11. Bhagavad Bhakti Hinasya Jati Shastram Japastapa Apraneshyaiva Daheshya Mandanam Lokaranjanam. The purport is that sometimes when a friend or a relative, especially among the lower classes of men, the body is decorated, dressed, and ornamented, and the body is taken in procession. That sort of decoration of the dead body has no actual value because the life force is actually gone. Similarly, any aristocracy, any social prestige or advancement of material civilization without Krishna consciousness is as good as the decoration of a dead body. The name of the wife of Daksha was Prasuti, and she was the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu. Her sister, Devahuti, was married to Kardama Muni, and Kapiladev, the personality of Godhead, became her son. Prasuti then was the aunt of Lord Vishnu. She was asking a favor of the Lord in an affectionate mode, since she was the aunt, his aunt. She sought some special favor. Also significant in this verse is that the Lord is praised as the goddess, with the goddess of fortune. Wherever Lord Vishnu is worshipped, naturally there is the favor of the goddess of fortune. Lord Vishnu is addressed as Amrita, transcendental. The demigods, including Lord Brahma and Shiva, were produced after the creation, but Lord Vishnu existed before the creation. He is addressed, therefore, as Amrita. Lord Vishnu is worshipped with his internal energy by the Vaishnavas. Prasuti, the wife of Daksha, implored the Lord to turn the priests into Vaishnavas instead of simply fruitive workers performing sacrifices for some material benefits. Srila Prabhupada ki. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devyam saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat. Mukam kuroti vachalam pangulam gaite girim yakripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyam Ishwaram Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Budale Srimate Indranna Swami Tinamne Namo Prabhupada Prishad Jagannath Yatananda Murti Bhaksukena Krishna Kirtana Rasimena Rakshataya Namaha Panchakalpataruscha Kripa Sindhu Chapaditanam Pavaniva Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. So it's very interesting in this verse. Two things stood out for me, among others. There's the wife of Daksha here is addressed as Yajamanya, right? Prabhupada translates as the wife of Daksha because it's referring to her, but the word is Yajamanya. Yajaman is the person who is performing the sacrifice. When you're doing a yagya, there's different people who are supposed to be there. You have the Yajaman, the Hotri, the Advaryu, the Udgata, the Brahma. There's 7 or 8 different people who are there and performing different tasks. And so the Yajaman is the person who sponsors or who's making the sacrifice be done. Let's say you have some new home or you have some new place you want to purify, so you will employ a Brahmana to please come and purify the home. So you are the Yajaman in that. So Yajamanya means the wife of the person who is performing the sacrifice, right? So it's very significant that Sutta Goswami explains it, that he calls her Yajamanya, because she's the wife of the person who made the sacrifice be happen, and she herself is saying that the sacrifice was useless until now, only now that you came. Now that you came, now it's become purified, now it's become real. So she, being the wife of the person who organized the sacrifice to be done, she had this realization. That's why it's very important that Sukadeva Goswami and Sutta Goswami, they address her in that way. They call her Yajamanya because she is the person talking as the host of the whole sacrifice, right? And she's saying it in this way, so it's very beautiful. She then mentions that Krishna is the purpose of all sacrifice, and all sacrifice should be done for his pleasure. We see that in Bhagavad Gita everywhere. But in the Rig Veda, there's one very beautiful shloka that I would like to chant and then read the translation. So it's Krishna vai satchidananda ganaha Krishna adi purushaha Krishna purushottamaha Krishna hau karamadi moolam Krishna sa sarvai karyaha Krishna kasham kridadisha mukha prabhu pujyaha Krishna nadis tasmirajan dantarabahye yam mangalam tallabate kriti. So it says, Lord Krishna is the color of the new rain cloud. Therefore, he is compared to the transcendental cloud, full of eternal bliss and cognizance. So many times we're asked why Krishna is blue. And there's so many different explanations, but this is one of the sastric references that rasa, or eternal happiness that's found in relationship, is considered to be like water. And that, like water, that refreshing taste of water. And when you're burning in summer, when you see those rain clouds, it's the most pleasure-giving, it's the most relief-giving from this burning heat of material existence. So it's one of the reasons why Krishna is considered in that way blue. There's so many explanations, but this is one that's there in the Rig Veda, right? He is the original and supreme person. He is the origin of all activities and the one and only Lord of all. He is the worshipful Lord and the best of the demigods, the controller of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Krishna is without any beginning, and whatever auspiciousness is to be found is found within him and not beyond him. anything that we want to obtain can be obtained by Krishna alone, right? So not only is he the source of everything, but he is all auspiciousness. That means that whatever you're trying to do, whatever auspiciousness you're trying to do by any sacrificial yajna, by any religious activity, he is auspiciousness. So anything that can be found will be found within him. So trying to perform something without him is absolutely useless, because he is auspiciousness. He is glory. He is benediction. He is everything, right? So it's something very important that we have to understand, that anything we do, if it's in connection to Krishna, will become successful, which is full of purpose. Anything done separately from him is of no use, just as the wife of Daksha is saying. Yeah. Another point that I thought to bring out in connection with yesterday's lecture by Gaura Mahaprabhu, sometimes when we see demigods performing these activities, of course we understand their pastimes, and the Lord organized it that they do something foolish so that he's able to teach us a lesson through their example, right? Brahma stealing the cowherd boys, Indra trying to flood whole Braj with the rain clouds, Daksha doing this offense to Lord Shiva. All these things, sometimes we think, how can they do this? They know who Krishna is, they know everything, how can they do these kind of things? And we shed a bad light on such a person, even though he's a great devotee, such as Indra and all the demigods. So in this connection, I thought to quote from Taittiriya Upanishad, because in Taittiriya Upanishad is described the different levels of happiness in this material world, right? And so if we're able to understand the levels of happiness, we're able to understand how one can be distracted, right? So it's a little bit mathematical, but we'll try follow along. So if you imagine you have a person on this world who doesn't lack anything. He has everything he needs. He has a happy family, happy wife, happy house, everything all good, right? So that's 1 unit, let's say 1 unit. That's number 1 happiness number 1, right? Now, his happiness, 100 times his happiness is the happiness of an emperor who is unrivaled. So an emperor who has no enemies and has all the wealth of the universe, right? That emperor is 100 times the happiness of that man, the happy man, right? So now we're at 100, right? The 100 times the happiness of the emperor is the happiness of a Manushya Gandharva. Manushya Gandharvas are the people who achieve through pious activities, they achieve the realm of the Gandharva Loka, right? Not heavenly planets, the Gandharvas is the superhuman level, right? So that means we're already at 10,000 units, right? 100 times their happiness is the happiness of the Deva Gandharvas. That means the residents of Gandharva Loka, like Chitrarata, all these big Gandharvas we hear about in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam or in different sastras, right? That's 100 times the happiness of the Manushya Gandharvas. That means we're already at 1 million, right? Then 100 times their happiness, we're at 10,000. Yeah, we're Deva Gandharvas, 10,000, yeah. So 100 times their happiness is the happiness of the Pitris. A happy Pitri. A Pitri in Pitri Loka Pitri means the forefathers, right? They're in Pitri Loka, they're enjoying their descendants are performing dharmic duties, they're happy and well maintained. So now we're at 1 million, right? 100 times their happiness is the happiness of those in Svarga Loka. Not the demigods, that's those who have achieved that place. Let's say you and me, we do some austerities, we do pious activities, we attain Svargaloka, and we're just there. We're not necessarily a demigod, we're there, living there, enjoying in Svargaloka, right? That's 100 times the happiness of the Pitris, so that means we're at 100 million times the happy man, right? Then, 100 times their happiness is the Karma Devas. The Karma Devas are the residents of Svargaloka, right? Not the demigods yet. Just the Karma Devas, right? So now we're at 10 billion, right? Time the happy man, right? 100 times their happiness is the happiness of the Devatas, right? Those are Agni, Vayu, Varuna, right? The main demigods, right? In Shastra it says there's 33 main demigods who are eligible to accept the offerings from sacrifices done on earth. So they are at 1 trillion times the happiness of the happy man, right? Then Indra, he's 100 times their happiness, right? So that means Indra's at 100 trillion times the happiness of the happy man, right? Then Brihaspati, the guru of the demigods, he's 100 times more happy than Indra. So he's at 10 quadrillion times the happiness of the happy man, yeah? Then After Brihaspati comes Prajapati. Prajapati. And who's a Prajapati? We're reading about a Prajapati. Daksha. Right? He's 100 times the happiness of Brihaspati. So 1 pentillion times the happiness of a happy man. Right? And then above Brihaspati, above the Prajapatis, is Brahma. And he's at 100 pentillion times the happiness of a happy man. Right? So if we are distracted with a little bit of distraction, we're distracted from our Krishna consciousness, even though we know everything and we're reading Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, imagine how difficult it is for them to focus on their devotional service with the distraction they have, the amount of enjoyment they have. And so they are actually far greater devotees than we are, simply that they because of their desires in this material world, their anarthas, they're enjoying at such a high level that it's way more difficult for them to focus on their devotional service. Right? If it's so difficult for us, right? What can 1 pentillion times the happiness of not us. We're not happy. We don't have everything we need. I'm saying the happy man, right? In devotional service, of course, we're happy and satisfied, but when you think materially, yeah, we lack this, we lack that. Heating's not working today, there's cold shower. I'm not, So how can we compare? How can we say, they should be following, Jai Nrsimha Bhagwan ki, right? They should be following, how can they fall down? How can they do this? How can they do that? No, they can be covered. Of course they can be covered with this amount of enjoyment. And what's interesting is that at the end of this sloka, what's happening is the Bhrigu Muni is describing the happiness in the material world. And he says, but the person who achieves liberation is all this combined. What does that mean? 1 plus 100 plus 10,000 plus 1 million plus 100 million plus 10 billion plus 1 trillion plus 100 trillion plus 10 quadrillion plus 1 pentillion plus 100 pentillion. And that does not compare to the happiness of a liberated soul. Understand? We cannot calculate that number. That's the happiness of a liberated soul, not someone who goes back to the spiritual world. Then we read by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, by Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, we read, what does a devotee think of liberation? And what does Mukti Devi think of bhakti? Right? She's following Bhakti Devi, begging her to please give some service. The devotee, when he hears of liberation, he feels very distressed because that means he'll forget his relationship with Krishna. And he does not want that to happen. So the devotee doesn't even think of liberation. So we cannot, it's inconceivable, indescribable, the comparison of happiness between the liberated soul to the devotee, someone in the spiritual world. So this is, you can't imagine. You can't imagine, right? It's the comparison is given to someone who's in a well, right? The frog in the well cannot understand the size of the ocean. And he says, is it 10 times the size of the well? Is it 100 times the size of the well? He can't imagine. He can't compare a well to the size of the ocean. So we can listen to this and we can become enlivened and enthusiastic and more inspired to achieve the ultimate happiness. Right? Forget Brahma, forget Prajapati, all these levels. Yeah, they're 1 pentillion, 100. Yeah. But the liberated soul is all this combined. And the liberated soul is nothing compared to the happiness derived in Gokula Vrindavan and Goloka Vrindavan. Or in any of the Vaikuntha planets for that matter. Right? And sometimes we're thinking about like, how is this possible? If they're enjoying so much, how come the liberated person is enjoying even more? And the comparison says that Prabhupada, he describes that in this material world, any happiness is the momentary cessation of suffering. Right? The momentary cessation of suffering. So you're suffering constantly, and when you're not suffering for a split second, that's considered happiness. So analogy can be given is like if you have a knife in your thigh, a knife, and it's digging around and moving around. When it stops moving, that's happiness for you. Yes or no? Right? It's just, whew. And liberation is when that knife is finally taken out. That knife of birth, death, old age, disease, karmic reaction, right? But that's still not happiness. You still have a giant wound in your leg. So going back to Goloka Vrindavan, that is what we have to look forward to. Not liberation, nothing else. Nothing else is important to us. Nothing else matters to us. Yeah? So this is a very beautiful description in Taittiriya Upanishad, describing the levels of happiness. Yeah? So understanding this can make us more enthusiastic, more inspired. Let's get out of here. Let's go. Back to Goloka Vrindavan. No liberation. Yeah? All the karma kandis, the Buddhists, they love liberation is because they're suffering so much in this material world. So all they're thinking about is stop the suffering. Just like if you had a knife in your leg, someone would say, do you want rasgulla? No, I want this to come out. You want burfi? You want a fancy Mercedes? You want, a fancy house? No, I just want this out of my leg. Take it out of my leg. You won't think of anything else. So this is their understanding. And it's correct, right? They're seeing suffering in this material world. They're seeing constant maya and constant disillusion and people dying and disease and everything. So all they want is it for all to stop. So for them, that's liberation. But what's beyond that, they don't care about because they just want it to stop. Enough suffering, enough. They want to break the cycle of samsara. But what do they not know is that when they get to Brahmajyoti and they merge with the light of Brahman, at that point, they can be there for 1,000 years, enjoying that insane amount of happiness, as we just heard. Insane, like you can't, right? They can enjoy, Google amount of years they can be there enjoying in liberation. But the moment they start desiring, they can't go back up from there. They have to come back down. The moment they desire, I want this, I want to feel this, or I want something else. Any desire that comes to them in that point of Brahmajyoti, they have not understood their relationship with the Lord, and so they have nowhere to go. They can't go up. They have to come back down. And again, suffer in this material world until they finally reconnect with their eternal relationship with the Lord. Yeah? So therefore, Brahmajyoti is not the solution. Liberation is not the solution. It's a temporary solution. It can seem untemporary because you'll be there for billions and trillions and quadrillion and pentillions amount of years in Brahmajyoti, enjoying the cessation of material suffering, enjoying the cessation of birth, death, old age, disease. But at some point, you're going to want something. And you won't be able to continue going back up from there. Yeah? Another thing we have to understand, and we can understand this from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, is that when Narada Muni, he was going through all, there's two parts of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, right? There's one part is describing Narada Muni's search for the greatest devotee of the Lord, and the second part is describing Gopakumar's journey through the universe, looking for his Supreme Lord, right? So in the search of Narada Muni, he starts with the Brahmana in Devaprayag, then he goes to the king, who's performing unlimited sacrifices, right? Then the king sends him to Indra. And in the description of the king is describing so many wonderful devotional service that Indra is performing constantly for the Lord. And one of them is that Indra daily performs a huge sacrifice in which Vamanadev himself is there present and accepts the offering daily. So he's a great devotee. He's an amazing devotee. And after learning his lesson from Krishna, after the pastime of Govardhan, he is the devotee. Right? But as we mentioned here, he is simply in this material world still enjoying to such an incredible amount that, yes, he's a karma mishra bhakta, right? Performing his devotional service, but he has desires, and so he's trying to purify them as being the post of Indra. Right? And even he's conscious of that, just as Brahma is conscious of that. So we cannot commit offenses to these great devotees and think them less, because they are struggling in this material world, trying to focus on their devotional service just as we are. Simply that their amount of enjoyment and their amount of distraction is, we can say, a minimum of 100 trillion times us. Yeah? So we shouldn't diminish their devotional service and think in that way. We should simply focus on our devotional service and not have any desire for that. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, do your service, do your duty with no desire for result, because the desire for the result binds you further in this material world. Yeah, it's the good and bad karma are both binding. If you perform something for the good reaction, you'll have to wait and be born again to receive that good reaction. We don't want to be born again. We want it to break. We don't want good. We don't want bad karma. We want nothing. We simply want to go back to Krishna. And therefore we offer everything to him. And so he deals with the karma. And he gives us mercy instead. Yeah? Okay. I thought today would also be appropriate to hear a little bit about Vasudev Ghosh. Today is his disappearance day. And hearing a lecture from my spiritual master, he was mentioning how disappearance days in our devotional line, in our Krishna conscious movement, or in our line of Vaishnavas, is actually celebrated, or should be celebrated even grander than their appearance, because that is the day in which the devotee achieved his eternal goal of reassociating with the Lord, going back to Goloka Vrindavan. So it's not a day for sadness, it's a day for celebration, and to celebrate the devotees finally achieving what he's been missing for so many lifetimes. Of course, these devotees aren't Nitya Buddhas, they're Nitya Siddhas, they're eternally liberated souls, but we can still celebrate their disappearance. So Sri Vasudev Ghosh there were three brothers in total. There's Vasudev Ghosh, Madhava Ghosh, and Govinda Ghosh. These three brothers were great devotees of the Lord. And they're specifically well known for their ability to sing. Amazing kirtans. It is said that when the three of them, or even one of them, would sing, Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda couldn't stop dancing. As soon as they would start singing, the Lord would immediately start dancing and feeling such bliss and ecstasy in their kirtan. They're mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita in many different spots, always in connection with kirtan. When it's describing in Madhya Lila, when it's describing the Ratha Yatra pastime, when the Lord organized the Ratha Yatra, he appointed Vasudev Ghosh in one of the kirtan parties of the carts, because there were the three carts, and each cart had 7 kirtan parties. Ramananda Prabhu? Four kirtan parties, no? This is before speakers, right? So they had, kirtan party was big enough so that everyone in their vicinity could hear the kirtan. And as soon as you would be out of the vicinity that you can't hear that kirtan, there was another kirtan party. So there was 7, no? I don't remember how many, but there was enough kirtan parties that every single person in the Ratha Yatra, and you can imagine millions of billions of people, right? Everyone could hear a wonderful kirtan. So there was singers, there was repeaters even appointed, the mridanga players, everything was appointed by Lord Chaitanya so perfectly. And so Vasudev Ghosh is mentioned there also. He's mentioned in different places. No, it's two different people, yeah. He wrote many, many wonderful Bengali songs and poems about Lord Chaitanya. His poems are really, really beautiful. Some of them are very simple, some of them are more intricate, but his poetry is unrivaled. It is before the time of Narottam Das Thakur, before the time of Srinivasacharya, before the time of Shyamananda Pandit. So his poetry is like the beginning of all these amazing Bengali songs that there are. So, a little bit unknown and not so well known by us devotees, but it's worthwhile looking into them, finding them, reading their translations, and if you can, learning to sing them. It's really beautiful. In one of his bhajans, he writes, this is actually the origin, maybe you've heard the song Jadi Prabhupada Na Hoito from Japtak Maharaj. Jadi Prabhupada Na Hoito, Tabe ki hoito, e jivana vohito kisher. Right? This is the origin of that song. Japtak Maharaj read this song and then made Prabhupada Na Hoito. This is Jadi Gaura Na Hoito. And this is written by Vasudev Ghosh. So he writes, if Gaura had not appeared in this age of Kali, then how could we tolerate living? He has given the very essence and very charm of life, divine love, without which it is impossible to live in this world. Without Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how could we ever have heard or hear of Srimati Radharani, who reigns supreme in the kingdom of divine love? Having received all these things from Lord Gaur Hari, now we think life is worth living. In another song he writes, in a former Leela as Lord Ramachandra, you became famous for constructing a floating bridge of stones across the sea to Sri Lanka. Now, in this Kali Yuga, you have given us a bridge of Harinam Sankirtan, by which even the lame and blind can cross the sea of birth and death and attain the supreme happiness. Shri Vasudev Ghosh ki jai. So in the spiritual world, he is Guna Tunga Saki. Yeah, in Radha Madhav's Nitya Lila, he's Guna Tunga Saki. And he is responsible for singing the songs composed by Vishaka Devi. So even in the spiritual world, he's a singer. Yeah, and his samadhi is in the 64 samadhi area in Vrindavan. Yeah, where the 64 samadhis are there, there's one of his samadhis are there. There's actually, I think in Radha Damodar, yeah. There's actually another pastime that when Vasudev Ghosh heard that Mahaprabhu had left this world, he immediately got a shovel and dug out a samadhi for himself and sat in the samadhi and he said, I'm not going to live anymore. But at that moment, Mahaprabhu appeared to him in a very interesting form. One hand's giving blessing and the other hand's reaching way low to pull him out of the samadhi, telling him, come out, it's not time yet. So this deity of Mahaprabhu is in Temluk. It's near Bengal. Nowadays, Bangladesh. This temple of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. With that very beautiful, he's giving blessings, and in the other, with his left hand, he's saying, come out, enough of this childlessness, come out. So beautiful. So I thought it would also be appropriate to sing a song written by Vasudev Ghosh, probably one of the most well-known. I wasn't able to print out, but if you would like to take a picture of this, then you could sing along.
Where did you find it?
The song is called Jaya Jaya Jagannath Sachiranandan. Jaya Jaya Jagannatha Sachira, S-A-Chira, C-I-R-A, Nandan. Jaya Jaya Jagannath Sachiranandan. Yeah? Yes. If you can see it from there. Okay. So if you can, please sing along. Jaya Jaya Jagannath Sachiranandan Tribhuvan Kore Jar Charana Bandhan. Jaya Jaya Jagannath Sachiranandan Tribhuvan Kore Jar Charana Bandhan. Jaya Jaya Jagannath Sachiranandan Tribhuvan Kore Jar Jarana Bandhan. Jaya Jaya Jagannath Sachiranandan Tribhuvan Kore Jar Jarana Bandhan. Nilachale Shankha Chakra Gada Padmadhar Nadhiyana Gare Dhanda Kamandaludkar. Nilachala Shankha Nadhiyana Gare Dhanda Kamandaludkar. Nilachala Shankha Chakra Gada Padmadhar Nadhiyana Gare Dhanda Kamandaludkar. Nilachala Shankha Chakra Gada Padmadhar Nadhiyana Gare Dhanda. Keho bole pura bhete ravana bhadila Goloker vaibhav lila prakasha korila. Keho bole pura bhete ravana bhadila Goloker vaibhav lila korila. Keho bole pura পুরা ভেতে রাবণা ভাদিলা গোলকের বৈভব লীলা প্রকাশ করিলা এন বলে পুরে ভেতে রাবণা ভাদিলা গোলকের বৈভব লীলা প্রকাশ করিলা শ্রী রাধার ভাবে এভে গৌরা অবতার Hare Krishna Gaura Korila Prakash Bhave Ebhe Gaura Avatar Hare Krishna Nama Gaura Korila Prachar Shri Radhar Bhave Ebhe Gaura Avatar Hare Krishna Nama Gaura Korila Prachar Shri Radhar Bhave Ebhe Gaura Avatar Hare Krishna Nama Gaura Korila Prachar Vasudeva Gosha Bhole Kori Jadahat Jai Kor Shri Krishna Jai Jagannath Vasudeva Gosha Bhole Kori Jadahat Jai Gaur Shri Krishna Jai Jagannath Vasudeva Gosha Bhole Kori Jadahat Jai Gaur Shri Krishna Jai Jagannath Vasudev Gosha Bhole Kori Jadahat Jai Gaur Shri Krishna Jai Jagannath Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Shri Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki. So read the translation. So it says, Glory, glory to Sachi's son, who is the Lord, who is Lord Jagannath himself. The three worlds bow down to his feet, before his feet. In Nilachala, which means Jagannath Puri, he is Jagannath holding a conch, chakra, club, and lotus. In Nadia's town, he is holding a danda and a kamandalu. Some wise souls say that in ancient times he killed Ravana. Some say in Goloka he enjoys glorious pastimes. To taste the ecstasy of Radha, that Radha feels in her love for him, he is now incarnated here in the form of Lord Gaura. As Lord Gaura, he preaches the chanting of holy names of the Hare Krishna mantra. Vasudev Ghosh says, folding in my hands, I declare, Gauranga is Krishna and he is Lord Jagannath. Shri Vasudev Ghosh ki, Shri Vaishnavacharya ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi. So, taking inspiration from the wonderful lives of the Vaishnavacharyas is a very powerful way in which we can keep ourselves inspired and keep us determined to achieve our ultimate goal of going back to Goloka Vrindavan. So it's always wonderful that if we see in the calendar someone's disappearance day, someone's appearance day, it is our duty as Vaishnavas to at least know who they are. Yeah, at least know what they did, what service they rendered. And in that way, we can find new and new ways to inspire us and keep us determined in our devotional service. Yeah. Thank you so much. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Any questions? Yes, bro.
A bit oh no, with microphone. I'm a bit confused what you said about the liberated soul. I thought we have to liberate ourselves so we can love Krishna in a pure way.
Yes, you have to liberate yourself, but that's not our goal. That's something that happens as a byproduct of bhakti.
Okay. Good.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Because it's the material world is this material universe, right? The material creation is only 1/3 of the total creation. by the Lord. Yeah, the Lord created the spiritual world, which takes up 2/3, and the material world. So we do not want to go to liberation, which is the Brahma Jyoti, the effulgence of the Lord that He's emanating from the Vaikuntha planets. Yeah, the Vaikuntha planets are so effulgent that this bright light that comes off it, that's what the materialists or the impersonalists, they want to merge with that light. Yeah, they want to become that light. They want to stop this material suffering and leave this material world, but they do not know what's beyond that. So we don't want to stop there. We want to go past there, all the way through into Goloka Vrindavan. Understand? So the liberation isn't our goal. It's something that happens on our way to Goloka Vrindavan. Yeah? We want to leave this material world, but we do not want to stop before we get to the Lord's association.
Okay, but in the process of getting there, do you not have to go step by step?
Liberation is not a step that we stop at.
No, not that we stop it, but it's like when I try to do a handstand, I don't just go into a handstand. I'll first try to put up one leg, and then
but
the
liberation,
other.
Liberation, yes. You can say we're going by that place, right? But it's not something that we need to separately work to then go to the next step. You understand?
Yeah.
Liberation, we're not even thinking about that. All we're thinking about is going back to Goloka Vrindavan. Understand? It's kind of, it's one step further than just that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like let's say you're sick. Yeah, you have fever, you have this. If you're just treating the symptoms, you're going to get rid of the symptoms, but you're not getting rid of the disease. The disease is that we forgot our relationship with the Lord. The disease is not this material world. Understand? So we do not just want to leave this material world and then what? We want to go to the spiritual world. So by curing the cause of the disease, all the symptoms disappear. What are the symptoms? Birth, death, old age, disease, suffering in this material world. Does that make sense? We want to destroy the cause of all diseases, which is that we forgot.
Yes, I just have a follow-up question.
Sure.
I also read that you have to understand, so you're able to love.
Understand?
You first have to understand the Supreme Personality.
Yes, who He is.
So you can love.
Yes.
But I have no idea. Like I tried. I read about Goloka Vrindavan, but imagining it is very.
It's very difficult because it's inconceivable. It's not something that we can see or feel with our material senses. Our senses are imperfect. With these material senses, we cannot understand or even imagine what it's like. Therefore, Krishna so kindly came in the form of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. But what is the first prerequisite before reading Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam? It's faith. Faith. If you think it's all imagination, it will have very little effect on you. But if you understand it as faith, and by the process of bhakti, you will realize it and you will understand it by becoming purified, then the process will have effect by having faith. Does that make sense? It's very difficult to understand it or imagine it now. But therefore, the description of the Lord is given in Krishna book. There is the description of His place, His pastimes is given for us to gradually be able to understand who He is, what He's like. But it's not that necessarily we'll be able to see Him and feel Him with these imperfect senses in our material state.
I can't quote it exactly, but there was also something said along the lines of to be able to understand more, you first have to get rid of, you have to be in the right mood. Like,
yes.
Like just be in pure goodness.
Yes. But that's a gradual process.
So so that's also not something that I have to should focus on, because it's also just a byproduct.
No. Of course, that's something you have to get to be above the how would I say, to be released from the clutches of Maya is something we need to work on. But there's a process, and what's the process? Bhakti yoga, which means developing a relationship with the Lord. Yeah, not simply artificial restraint. Like Arjuna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that trying to control the mind is like trying to stop the wind with your hands. Yeah, to try to control the mind and say, don't think that. It's like if you have a mad dog, yeah, and you're holding the leash and you're just telling the dog to stay still. It's impossible. Yeah? You just don't go there, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. But what are you giving the dog to do instead? You're not giving it anything to do. It's not going to listen to you. So the senses are like the 5 horses that are running wild. And simply by trying to just hold them and tell them not to move, it's not going to work. You have to guide them in the proper way. You can move, but in this way. So we tell the tongue, you can taste, but not things that are boga, not things that are contaminating, not things that are in the mode of ignorance or passion. Taste prashadam, and in that way purify the tongue.
Oh,
right? You can tell the mind, if you want to think about something, think about the pastimes of the Lord. You tell the voice, if you want to say something and connect it to the Lord. And that way you're utilizing the senses in the Lord's service, which is much easier than simply stopping. Don't think about anything. Just think of black or white. No, it's not going to work. It's as Arjuna says, harder than stopping the wind with your hands.
Okay. I have another question. That's do you by any chance know chapter 6, verse 18?
By memory, no.
By memory, okay. Can I get it up because it's fitting to.
Sure. Maybe in the meantime, if anyone else has any question or comment, Ramananda Prabhu, anything? Oh, Shyamakun Prabhu has a question.
What Theodore asked.
Mm-hmm.
So at first, thank you for the lecture. It was very inspiring. And my question is, if we should be focused especially on like meeting with Krishna only after death, or if we can meet him even in this life, or like, because you emphasized this point that we are going to Goloka, but actually what I'm trying to see is like to see Krishna directly in here, in his creation, and I just want to confirm if it is the right attitude.
No, of course. Prabhupada even says that if you see this Lord as stone, he will remain stone to you. But if you see him as the Lord himself, right, then this same Lord, not some other Lord, this same Lord that's here will speak to you face to face as a deity, right? And so us as Kanishta-adhikaris, we're focused on going back to Goloka Vrindavan, right? But the Uttama-adhikaris, they don't care. They say, my Lord, if I'm here in the hellish world, anywhere, as long as I'm serving you, I'm happy, right? So let me take hundreds of births as long as I'm conscious of you. So, but for us, we are not at that stage yet. So for us, what are we looking for? We're looking for us to regain our relationship with the Lord, to become Krishna conscious, right? And enter into his pastimes in any way we can, once we're at that stage, right? And so for us, our understanding is Goloka Vrindavan. We're not at the level yet that we can say, oh yes, I'm going to have pastimes with Nrsimhadev in the form of deity. Uttama-adhikaris have, right? There's the pastimes. Satyananda Maharaj tells that he was washing the pots. In one of the temples here in Germany, he was washing the pots. And at that time, there was a lot of pressure from his family to leave the movement, come back. They were saying they're going to, get him married and this and that. And so they were telling so many things, and his mind was all disturbed and, threatening, and so many other things they were telling him. And so he was washing the pots, but while he was washing the Lord's plate, the boga plate, he was very distracted. And so the next day, the temple president came to him and said, you know what Prabhupada told me? Prabhupada said that Krishna told him that his pots are dirty, and so you have to focus when you're washing the pots. And so Satyananda Maharaj was amazed. He said, how could anyone know? Only Krishna and me could know what I was thinking about. So Prabhupada must be talking with the Lord directly. So that gave him such inspiration, and so then he was able to completely block out all the nonsense that was there and focus on his service. So Prabhupada was at that level. And so many other devotees may be, and they don't show it just, so we don't commit offenses, or because, we're not on the level yet to understand. But no, going back to Goloka Vrindavan is our supreme goal, because we want to reconnect with Krishna in any form that takes. And also, as mentioned so many times in Sastras, anywhere where the holy name is chanted, where there's deity worship going on, and the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is being read, that is the holy dham, that is Goloka Vrindavan, that is, right? But are we on the level to understand it? No, so we have to put something there for us to achieve that we can focus on, and we'll get there. But of course, what is the process? Chanting the holy name. And what is the goal? Chanting the holy name. Make sense? Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Well, should I just read the verse in English?
Yes.
Okay. So 618. When the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, he is said to be well established in yoga. And then in the purport, Prabhupada tries to explain it with the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam verse 9th canto, 4th chapter, 18th to 20th sloka. I just read the translation. King Abarisha first of all engaged his mind and the lotus feet of the Lord on the lotus feet of the Lord. Then one after another he engaged his words in describing the transcendental qualities of the Lord, his hands in mopping the temple of the Lord, his ears in hearing of the activities of the Lord, his eyes in seeing the transcendental forms of the Lord, his body in touching the bodies of the devotees, his sense of smell in smelling the scent of the lotus flowers offered to the Lord, his tongue in tasting the tulasi leaf offered at the lotus feet of the Lord, his legs in going to the places of pilgrimage and the temple of the Lord, his head in offering obeisances unto the Lord, his desires in executing the mission of the Lord. All these transcendental activities are quite befitting of a pure devotee. What does he mean by his body in touching the bodies of the devotees?
Serving them. So you're
Like
serving
prasadam?
prasadam,
Okay.
yeah. You're serving prasadam, cleaning their place, washing their clothes. Any way that you're able to serve a devotee is touch.
Okay. Because I had one devotee who, like, he was in India and he was so, like, he was always advertising how in India they welcomed him by foot massages and back rubs. I thought maybe
I mean, some very fortunate devotees got the opportunity to massage the Prabhupada, but that doesn't mean any less than, doing any other services for a devotee.
Okay.
You understand? No.
Okay.
Makes sense? But you see, it just as that example, the verse is talking about yoga. But what yoga is that talking about? It's talking about bhakti yoga. Right? And that's why Prabhupada quotes Ambarish Maharaj, who is following the process of smarana, Ravanandapura. Ambarish Maharaj is known for smarana, no?
Ambarish did all.
Ambarish did all. Right, sorry. Saraswati Nivedanam, Balira Krishna Sampara. Yeah. So then finally, Ambarish Maharaj did all processes of devotional service, and that's why Prabhupada is quoting Ambarish Maharaj is quoting that verse.
Yeah, no, it was just before, in the verses before, he was talking about our primal, sleeping, eating, and
Yes.
all those things.
Yeah.
And I thought they're like symbolisms of how to engage those desires, but in Krishna conscious ways.
Yes.
So that's why I was asking. Okay,
Yes.
it's just
Yeah.
serving prasadam,
Yes.
not.
Yes. One way.
Good.
Ravanandapura, you have something? No? Yes.
I hear that the primary colors represent the gunas, modes, so yellow represents goodness, red passion, blue tamas. No, Krishna is always described as blue. Does it have any relation, meaning?
No. Does it say who the question is from? Does it say who the question is from?
From Shireen. Shireen.
Oh. No, as far as I know and from what I've read, there's not a connection between Tamaguna and Krishna in that way. The relationship that Krishna is blue is because he is rasa personified. He is relationship personified. Right.
Color, but I never hear that this is has something to do with the colors.
I've heard it, but not in any
Not in scriptures.
No.
Yeah, no.
It's more just hearsay, like people talk about it.
It's like red is like the color of love, and
Yes.
then it's something. But I don't know if it has any real foundation somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, they say in the Sastra it talks about the Shaktiyas because they're doing Tantra, and Tantra is in the mode of ignorance, therefore they dress in black and dark red, right? Or red, even Shaktiyas, they wear red or black when they're doing their puja because that is their focus. But a direct connection between the gunas and the colors, I haven't found the Pope. But no, Krishna's blue is not the tamaguna blue. If there was a tamaguna blue, no, Krishna is rasa condensed, rasa personified, embodiment of relationship. Right? And as Mantra Pushpa talks about how the water is relationship. I can't remember the verse, sorry, so I won't quote it. Okay, anything else? Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Samveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki, Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi.